whether they are going to play a local, dealing with local market or foreign market, yeah. So that's the strategy they're talking about, yeah. Market segmentation or probably labor intensive, capital intensive, that kind of strategy they're talking about. And second, after strategy, you have to position yourself. How are you going to reflect, yeah, to respond to your strategy? That we call it the structure. It's just like playing a football, you know. Depending on the skill of your players, yeah. There are 4-2-4, there are 4-3-3, and that is a reflection of the structure to reflect the strategy that you're going to play. Yeah? The structure is very important. Normally, the structure will identify the skills that is required, yeah, in the organization among your staff, and also the tasks to be conducted. Yeah? I think that's very important for us, yeah, to look into this structure component. Yeah? And then beside the structure, you have the systems, yeah, to govern. Yeah? You have the systems, and normally the system to connect all the different units in the organization. Yeah? Then after the systems, you may have your styles. Yeah? Whether you empower your staff or probably top-down, bottom-up, and that kind of style that you're talking about. Yeah? And modern organization, yeah, they normally empower the employees. Meaning to say, people have the rooms to give their feedbacks, to promote their ideas. That's very, very powerful in managing people at work. Yeah? Then after that, you also have a set of staff, you know, a group of people working together. That's by definition. How you define organization? Organization is a group of people working together to achieve certain organizational goal, that common goal that you are talking about. So these people, yeah, they've been structured accordingly. Then you manage them with certain styles. Yeah? That these people you consider as your assets. Yeah? The engine for any organization. Yeah? That's why after the staff, you have to look into their skills. What are the specific skills that are required for them to perform their task effectively? Yeah? Then followed by, this is also very, very important, what I call it the soft approach in managing people. That is the shared values. Yeah. All companies, you have to have this short shared values, so that people, they are well guided of where we want to go, what we want to do, and the aspiration of the company, yeah, need to be shared, yeah, by all the entire members in the organization. So that's the description of the company. We have, yeah, all the different types of the company. You have to recognize that, and we have a template now, the 7S, yeah, from the system, the structure, the strategy, the skills, yeah, the shared values. Yeah. These are the things that we have to control in order for you to effectively manage the organization. Then come to the main area that we are going to discuss today. Yeah? High performance organization. Yeah? How do you define performance? Now, performance first. What is performance? How to measure performance? There are two different approaches to define performance. Of course, for profit-oriented organizations, yeah, you normally have to refer to the dollar and cent, and the profit and losses. So that's a direct performance measurement for any profit-oriented company. But what happened to those non-profit-oriented companies, like of government department, for example, ministries? They don't deal with dollar and cent. So you have to measure them based on what we call it the non-profit measurement. What are they? Number one, probably, yeah, you have to ask the people that you serve, your customer, yeah, to what extent they satisfied with your performance, with your products. That's very important. Yeah? For example, we are in a higher learning institution. We don't deal with dollar and cents as well.
Yeah.
So, university, for example, how you define success for a university? Yeah, for example, now people talk about ranking, whether be it QS ranking, Times Higher Education ranking, World University ranking. There are so different type of rankings, Shanghai Jiangtong ranking, all those with different indicators that to measure the so-called performance of the ranking. Yeah? But again, you know, some people they are a bit skeptical about the ranking because they are itself a game. It's a game that we play. You know? So I think we have to go beyond that. Yeah? For example, very easy for us to measure the university performance. Number one, your product. How marketable are they? The employability of your student, your graduates. I think to what extent that, for example, your student can get into the job market easily. That's another one. I remember when I visited one university in India. Yeah, they have a very good indicators for performance. What are they? They claim that they always measure the number of percentage of success of the student that apply to get into the university. Yeah, for example, in our case, if let's say, for example, we open for new recruitment, so we want to see how many percent of the success of from the total number of applicants. Let's say, for example, 1/3 or probably 1%, 10%, that is the indication. And this particular institution in India, I was so just wondering, why they were so popular. And then the graduates very much sought after by companies in the US from Silicon Valley. Before the graduates, company already booked their students. And I visited the campus. I think not much superior than whatever that we may have, or even I can say that our facilities is much better than whatever that they may have. Then in terms of the lecturers, we always claim that we have a big number of lecturers with a PhD. Sometimes some universities have over 90% of the lecturers with a PhD, and this particular institution, they only have 60% of the lecturers with a PhD. And yet, they can produce a very good graduates and then be sought after by many organizations around the world. Then I further investigate and I got the answer. Yeah? And this is from what shared by the Vice Chancellor. He said, every time when they advertise for the new student, there are about 1 million applicants. India with a huge population. What's the population in India now? 1.2 billion, 1.112 billion. Close to China, 1.6, 1.15 billion. So every time, whenever they advertise, they will get 1 million applicants. And then they are talking about to take about 1,500 new students. How many percent? So, what makes them so good? Actually, what makes them so good is the very highly competitive environment among the students. Imagine, for example, from a very big pool of candidates, then they selected only 1,500 to have an opportunity to get into the university to study all the various programs, And imagine this student, they are very much selected by the big pool, and then when they get into the university, all of them have a very high level of commitment to improve, to prove that they are good. So this kind of success they are talking about. So any local university, probably you also have to measure your performance based on the percent of the success rate among the applicants. Some universities they struggle to get candidates. They don't have enough candidates. But some they have big pool of candidates who wish to get into the university. That kind of management that we are talking about. And then internally, we could also measure performance of the organization by measuring the satisfaction level of your very own staff. Yeah, we always expect that satisfied staff may produce a good result, good performance. That is quite natural. You don't expect people to perform well when they are not happy, when they are not satisfied. So I think it is very important for us, for any organization to make sure that their people are very satisfied. You may have to develop what we call it the satisfaction index, and then to measure them probably every year, so that you know whether they are comfortable working in the company or not. That may be translated into the turnover rate among them. People who are not satisfied, the tendency for them to leave is very high. If they are not happy, they may resign and join other company. And then some other company, they also keep on measuring the performance level, the productivity levels, the innovation levels, and many other measurements that you could measure the company's performance. So in brief, we could divide performance into two segments. Number one, financial measurement, it is a dollar and cent. With that, if you get a handsome profit, probably you are in a position to pay a high level of bonus to your staff, or probably if you use a percentage for the increment, you may have a good percentage for increment for the staff. So that's for the individual performance. I think it's very, very important for us to measure, keep on measuring the organizational performance. Then we get into our topic today, high performance organization. How do you define high performance organization? What are the ingredients? What are the things that are characteristic of this? Okay, first you describe about the characteristic of high performance organization. But of course, they normally be supported by high performance work culture. Work culture, that's a must. But of course, you talk about high performance organization, high performance culture. Obviously, they may be a market leader. In the industry, probably they may be number one, or probably the top 5% of the industry that in that industry. That can be considered as a high performance organization. They are not an ordinary one. They are always the top 5. They perform well, and then they meet certain standard, world standard, industry standard. So that's the right description of high performance organization. And then after that, you may identify what could be the ingredients, the characteristic of the high performance organization. So I observe through my experience dealing with many companies. So I observe there are several characteristics of this high performance organization. Number one, you have that very productive, very positive work culture being practiced by the entire members in the organization. Culture that doesn't come easy. They don't come overnight. You have to develop, you have to nurture, you have to manage the culture. High performance culture, it doesn't come easy. So you have to build up, you have to inculcate, you have to develop over a long period of time. Then you can have this culture to be practiced, to be followed by the members of the organization. And this also, it is quite normal. People, when they get into the company, they have to follow certain organizational culture, the so-called high performance culture. If they cannot live in it, the tendency for them to leave is very, very high. So because some people they do have the ability to follow certain operational culture. Of course, no, the productivity always very high, standard very high, and then this type of organization, they normally practice what we call it, your area, open communication.
Yeah.
Very, very important, yeah, on all levels, you know, they have that open communication channel, yeah, from top down or bottom up, yeah. So this communication channel can, what are the things that we could communicate? Number one, obviously, any top organization, they may have to share their aspiration. They have to share their vision, their mission, their strategy with all the entire members in the organization. Every single employee, it is a must for them to be guided by where we want to go.
Strategic communication.
Strategic communication. How are you going to do it?
Then
Then they have to cascade down and position themselves how and in what way that I'm going to follow. I'm going to shoulder responsibility based on the strategic direction of the company. That's very, very important. That's why, for example, I normally, when I deliver my yearly speech every year, yeah, I normally don't use text. I don't like to use text. You have to internalize, come from here, you share with your people, they can understand, they can feel that whatever that we're going to share with them. I think that's very, very important, yeah, for us to connect whatever that you may have to their position. And then I will challenge them. Okay, now I'm going to talk about our direction. Each one of you have to think and imagine what I'm going to say and what I'm going to do, and you position yourself according to your level that you are in, according to the role that you normally play. Then only, that's why, again, back to the definition, a group of people working together to meet this operational objective or target, you know? Very important. Then comes the second characteristics. Normally, high performance organization, they empower the staff. That sense of high level of participation and involvement among the staff, you know. So they feel that they've been mandated, yeah, by the management, yeah, and then normally this will be translated into their energy, their commitment, their passion, you know, because they know that when they involve people, normally when they involve, naturally they will feel very committed. Yeah, whether I think just imagine, you know, you have to empower people. Then that sense of belonging is very, very high among these empowered employees. Yeah, that's very, very important. Yeah, and then what's next? Yeah? You also have to invest on their talent. Yeah, because talents you have to nurture. You have to develop. Yeah, because that doesn't come easy. Probably you may have work experience, skills, you know, but most of the time you should also tap the new skills set from outside of your organization. You have to update and you have to invest on this stuff, development or training and etc. Right? That is why good company will normally allocate certain percentage of their budget for staff development. 10% of the staff for the operational budget for training and development, or probably you translate them into the number of man days, yeah, for training. So that will be something that could always, yeah, improve your organization. Yeah, when you talk about improvement, yeah, normally this company, they will practice what we call it continuous improvement. Kaizen. Kaizen means, yeah, good change. Good change means improvement. Even though a small gradual improvement, but you have to repeat, you have to do it and becoming a practice of all the members in the organization. Today must be better than yesterday. Tomorrow must be better than today. That kind of philosophy should be practiced by your organization, and also to be translated into the thinking of every single employees in the organization. Then for the company, if let's say you really appreciate the feedback, that can be very powerful. Normally, a customer-focused organization, they will get always from time to time feedback from the customers or even your very own employees. So that can serve as a mirror for you to further improve. Or otherwise, you don't know whether you are doing okay or not. Dia tak boleh show sendiri. So you need someone to feed you with all those information, with all the feedback, so that you have you are aware of your performance, and also to find ways how you could further improve. Otherwise, you don't know how to improve. And then many high performance organizations, they may also have a very great performance management process. So performance management, so they keep on measuring performance, things like that. And I noticed these are also very important. The high performance organization, normally they may provide a very good, conducive working environment. This is very important. Yes, you have to develop, you have to create what we call it a conducive, a good working environment. How do you find good, conducive working environment? Can you imagine? What are considered as conducive working environment? Of course, physical facilities, safe, healthy, hygiene environment is one. That is the hard area. But there are so many soft areas that you could manage properly to provide a conducive working environment. And number one, of course, you have to have a situation where people feel that they are part of the organization. That citizenship spirit is very important. Everyone feels that they are in a big family, a family member. The Japanese call themselves a shain. Shain means members of the company, as opposed to workers of the company. Two different orientations. Shain means a family member. Shain, family member, as opposed to a workers. Workers, you just clock in, clock out, and go, and then that's it. So you don't have that sense of belonging. Imagine, for example, if your employees have that high level of sense of belonging, that be translated into their commitment. So and especially when their salary, their bonuses to be determined by the performance of the organization. So they want to give the best, and they will stay long. They will never think of leaving the company. So that's very important. And number two, the conducive working environment. You have to practice what we call it a mutual respect among all the employees. You have to respect. Even the top level, the CEO also have to respect the lowest level of your employees, the cleaner, for example. Because each and every one of us, all levels, we have certain roles to play. So everyone have their own function. Each one of them responsible to the success of the company. You cannot claim I am the most important individual in the company, so that I'm more important. No, that's why you have to give to recognize the contribution of each and every single individual in the organization, from the lowest until the tops at the board level. Even the board also may have the rules to play. properly. That's very, very important. Then number two, you have to mutually respect each other. Okay, you have to mutually respect each other. Yeah, that's very important. Mutual respect. Because if you don't have that, it can create tension unnecessarily. I love the Japanese terms of what we call it wa, hewa. Wa literally means harmony. Harmony is very important to any organization. Imagine, for example, you have people who are really they trust you, they don't trust you, for example. No proper communication, for example. That will create disharmony in the organization. They create unnecessary tension in the organization. That is not good. High performance organization have to make sure that they have harmony in the organization. And especially so when they have people from a very different background. People come from different background, different roles, probably different nationality, or those can be important consideration for us to make sure that we address them properly. And then conducive working environment may also practice what we call it the commonality in everything. The sense of team spirit. So that is, yes, in case that some part of the unit doesn't work, others could support. So that you don't really hinder progress in your organization. So that's very, very important for us to consider. So that's probably my description, a very general description of the conducive working environment. Then I would like to also share what are the things that is very, very important for us to have in order for the company to deliver and to perform well. Among the professional, among the staff, I realized that, and especially in the case of Malaysia, something is quite lacking. I've been abroad for quite long. I noticed there are things that we could learn from them, even from a very low level of staff until the professional. We lack of this. What we call it a professionalism. I remember during my time in the UK, even the janitor also, they are so proud of being whatever. Even the sweeper, the cleaner, so they are very professional in whatever they are doing. Imagine, for example, one day I went to visit in Japan, a bus driver. They look very professional. They wear coat, tie every day, and then and very, very knowledgeable on whatever they do. Not only to drive, direction, they can manage also a small repair of the car. They know the safety, and then they have a very sense of responsibility for the passenger. That sense of professionalism is very, very important. If, let's say, imagine we have all workers to practice a high level of professionalism, no matter what level that they are in the company. That is something that we could learn. I think to be a fully developed nation, I think this is an area that we should inculcate professionalism among our employees. And when you are professional, number one, of course, you have to be a master in whatever that you do. Mastery of your area. You are a driver, you are a good driver, you know how to handle the vehicle, and you care about your passenger, you can repair, and then your etiquette also very, very good. The way you communicate also, you respect people, that kind of professionalism that you're talking about. And then professionalism also very much related to your behavior, your conduct. this doesn't come easy. Yeah. So I think we have to train them. We have to let's say for example, we normally always, yeah, I notice for example, yeah, the waiter, yeah, and or probably the salesperson, yeah, in any company, for example, yeah, if they are not professional, in Malaysia, for example, very seldom for us to be appreciated by our the salespeople. They take money, just never say thank you or things like that. That is something that I think shouldn't happen in our culture. No? So that I would strongly suggest that professionalism to be practiced among our workers in Malaysia. Then we have to make sure that all workers who have a very high level of commitment, professionalism to translate it into a commitment level. Where all this commitment level come from? We mentioned about be empowered to be developed, to expose to the new skills. Yeah, so that to be translated into commitment. They're talking about. For example, now let's imagine you have workers, yeah, who are willing to stay a very long hours, sometimes until midnight, and tomorrow they'll be there again, punctual. What makes them so committed to their work? Now, you have to ask ourselves, we have to ask ourselves, why people are willing to work extra hours, sometimes not even to be paid overtime. Yeah, but they voluntarily come from within, that they are willing to give their level best, to make sure that whatever they are being assigned to do, they can perform well. Yeah, that is quite common for the profit-oriented organization. Yeah, normally becoming a norm for them. To clear the desk, whatever that they have every day. Yeah, so they have to clear, and tomorrow there will be a new thing for them. Yeah, so I think it is something that we have to learn. Yeah, because commitment will be translated into high performance. Yeah, so in general. This performance can be formulated. Yeah? I have the question for this high performance. Performance is a function of, number one, of course, we have to have a skill. Yeah? You have to have right skills, right experience, to further develop them and improve them from time to time. That's one. Number two, you have to have high motivation level and commitment level. Yeah, so performance is a function of number one, the skills, number two, motivation and commitment, and number three, what we call it, the environment or the culture. Yeah, so performance is a function of ability, motivation, and also the culture. So I stop here for a while, and then probably we can discuss or probably can answer questions from the floor. Thank you.
Yeah, we got a few questions that took very deep explanation on the high performance culture. So I got one question here. So how to manage? We have several levels of people, and in high performance culture is yes. For example, universities, right? They have the people at same level working together. So someone to be promoted above. So how do we manage peers in high performance culture?
Wow, that's very interesting. That is a reflection of our industry, higher learning institution. For example, university. Normally, let's say for example, me being appointed as a vice chancellor of the university. So most of them, they are my peers. They are all my friends. They are all colleagues. So how to manage them properly? How to make sure that they are performing well? Number one, what is important is for us to recognize that every single individual, they are unique. They have their own area of expertise. So you have to recognize. And I also always remind myself that even if you are a vice chancellor today, but there are many people who may be good in their area, much better than you in their respective area of expertise. That's number one. So you have to recognize that people, they are different, So especially in the academic area, each one of us, we have our own area of expertise. So we should mutually respect each other. And the indicator for success for any Vice Chancellor, if you develop people who can rise and can be promoted much higher than you, that for me is a success. That a reflection of a good leadership of the university. And to allow people not only the same, but to be better than you. To get promoted higher than you. That's number one. Number two, we should recognize that people, they are also unique. They may have their own strengths and weaknesses. Our role is to make sure that we fully explore and exploit and further enhance their strength. Make full use of their strength. Just like two sides of the coin. Their strength and weaknesses. And the good leader is always the one who always highlight, make full use of one's strength. So that's why in the context of higher learning institutions, the university, we should allow what we call it the multi-tracking career development. You don't expect people to be all in the same track, everyone. But of course, you have to allow a certain percentage of the skill or probably performance to be required in all the core areas. For example, one can be a very good teacher, but not so good in research and development, and also not good in concentration, extension, and things like that. But overall, they have to meet certain minimum requirement for all the three key functions. But you should allow them to progress well in the area that they are very strong. So what we call it the multi-tracking career advancement for the staff. Then number three, in our unique environment, you should recognize that today everyone will have an equal opportunity. And today you are a Vice Chancellor, and then you finish your term. Next time, other people will also have the opportunity to take over. They are your friends, but you have to recognize that, and then you have to accept that one day you also have to get back to your previous position. So that kind of mindset will allow people to feel that as a leader, I have to feel comfortable dealing with all these peers in the organization. We need to say the mutual respect to recognize people of what they are in the organization. Okay.
So another question is about the high technology.
Okay.
So we can see that it's big data, for example, the high the rating system, for example, the high education rating system. Now we depend on some higher education, right, to get rating. How we can leverage the high technology, for example, big data in our decision making, for example, in our decision making, in our decision to empower our organization, for example.
But of course, now is the era of technology. You have to engage because the human capability is very, very limited. Whatever they will do, say for example that the structure that I provided earlier, first the strategy. So you have to have a system that support your strategy. So the system may also include the technology that you may have to consider, the latest technology. So you may have to invest on this. They also sometimes doesn't come easy. But then the return that you could get from this latest technology will be much higher than if you were to work in a conventional way. So many organizations normally they will invest on the latest technology to support their business orientation. So, but again, you should also provide training and awareness among your staff. Sometimes you have all the latest technology, but then you never use it. And then you mentioned about the big data. This is another jargon, you know. And I've been dealing with many companies. Yeah, they said that they are going to develop a big data, but it doesn't work because people thought that whatever they may have is their power. Yeah, they don't want to share. I think this kind of thing is this corrupt thinking. You may have to educate. That's why you have to start with the awareness first. Yeah. You create the awareness among the staff that you have to develop a system where all members in the organization could benefit from whatever knowledge that you may have. That knowledge management is very important. Knowledge sharing is very important. So you, the enabler, you have to find the proper enabler, yeah, for us to do that. Yeah.
Okay, the final question is what the difference between KIP and KPI. KPI normally we something is measured for KIP, a key intangible performance of the staff. So how you look at these two things? KPI may be something like how many papers you presented, how many research you have done, how many money you have already got for the research grant. But another thing is KIP, key intangible, that only how the leaders could measure that.
Okay, you're talking about the context of higher learning institution.
Yeah, in the context, yeah, in context of the higher learning institution, high performance culture of the organization.
In the university, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, first, of course, every individual workers, they may have what we call it a standard performance. So you have to set that standard performance. What are the minimum standard performance? What are the highest standard performance? So normally, if let's say, for example, for the academic, yeah, you may have to develop the KPI, the education indicators, yeah, to measure the performance. Let's say, for example, the teaching, then the research, and then also your professional services. Of course, you have to have that specific KPI for everyone in the organization. But there may also be what we call it the functional equivalent to things. Yeah, there always be a functional equivalent to whatever that you do. Yeah, to be considered as the same. Yeah, for example, teaching. Yeah, if you are good in teaching, yeah, sometimes normally there's a strong connection between good teachers and good researcher. Yeah, good teacher normally, technically speaking, they should be a good researcher as well. But I observe that is not the case. There are people who are really good in terms of teaching, pedagogy, and things like that. And then at the same time, they may lack skills in research, and also probably I don't know, sometimes because of the behavior, not behavior, what we call it, the drive, the motivation to do that is not high enough. So in a way, for all organizations, you have to first set a minimum standard for all members in the organization. They're failing with, because you have to recognize that performance is a discipline subject. Yes, meaning to say, if you don't perform well, the management can take disciplination against you for not performing. But then that's below standard performance. Yeah, you have to communicate with your employees, to make known to everyone that these are the standard you are expected to fulfill, and failing with, action to be taken against them. Yeah? So that's something that organization have to do, to set the standard and to always follow the industry standard that would bring your organization to the highest level. Yeah. But in the context of university, in general, those people who hired to be hired, they may also already possess certain skill that is required. For example, all the lecturers, it's a must for them to have a PhD first. If you don't have a PhD, for example, if they are just a master's, it's a must for them to also have some other experience to be considered equivalent to a PhD, for example. That's first. We need to say very seldom for us to see people who cannot perform well, at least to meet the minimum requirement to be a lecturer in the organization. Because in the first place, we already selected them based on the criteria that we set. So we have, at least we have to be good in teaching. Then comes research, and probably you relate them to publication and things like that. That one, to a certain extent, the organization has also responsibility to encourage people to do well in this area. For example, nowadays research grants very limited. So how are we going to overcome all those problems? First, probably you have to encourage your staff to collaborate with people not only from inside the organization but also from outside of the organization. So probably in the Malaysian context, we have so many agencies, we have so many ministries that relates to your area. For example, it's quite natural. Your area is communication. Who are your partner? Who should be your partner outside of your organization?
CMC.
So many of them. Naturally, they can be your partner. So you can also work closely with them, and I'm quite sure they may also have allocation for research. So if you can leverage on that, it's going to be a win-win. They may have expertise from the university, and university can use all the facilities, all the resources that is available within their department. So that one, the sharing is very important. And networking also very crucial. Now is the era where people have to connect to not only people in the organization, but also from outside of the organization, especially. Don't limit to only in this country. You should also connect yourself internationally. There are many people looking for partners, and especially certain area that may require people with different background, and then certain research they may require people to represent their context, their environment. So that opportunity you have to further explore. I think I noticed in Europe there are so many research grants that allows people to collaborate with partners from all over the world. I think this is something that we would like to further explore. So instead of just relying on the fund available within the ministry, you should go beyond the ministry. You should go beyond the national boundaries, so that we could benefit from working together with them. And I noticed, for example, nowadays we establish what we call it the a center of excellence. Yeah. One of the criteria for the center of excellence, I think we always make it compulsory for them to work not only from people within the department. A must for them to have partners from outside. A must for them to secure research grant outside. That is the indication for success for any high COE center of excellence. And then after center of excellence, you can graduate to be recognized as the high center of excellence for the country. I think last time, we have the incentive, the government provide a matching grant for the high COE. Yeah, so if you secure a certain amount of money, so the government will match the grant and provide, but for a certain period of time.
Okay, thank you. We have a long discussion with Professor Dr. Radon Cik Ros on this high performance culture. I think about more than 1 hour we've already discussed on high performance culture, and we hope that this will be something benefit to, because most of our students here, they are top level managers in their respective organization. So
before that, I think I would like to encourage, you are all managers.
yeah.
So take pride of whatever that you do. Yeah, if you don't have that, I think you don't have a sense of purpose. So you have to take pride of anything that you do. You have to create what we call it a sense of accomplishment. You have to have that high level of motivation, high level of commitment. Always want to give the best. There's no limit for you to give the best. You always strive to be the top in whatever that you do. And that's very, very important for any managers. So always remember that whatever that you do, it is a learning process. You are the one who may possess that skills, the knowledge that no one will take away from you. No one, what we call it, hak milik kekal for you. So you develop your talent, so you have that experience, so you go anywhere, people will recognize you. Like peribahasa Melayu, you campak ke laut, dia akan jadi pulau. You campak ke darat, dia akan jadi gunung. That kind of quality that we are talking about. So you always add value wherever that you go. That's very important for you to have, to really be in this high performance culture organization. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Radon Cik Ros, tonight, and then thank you everyone to participate in this forum or in this class, and then see you again. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.